Hey everybody, it is Tuesday, May 13th, 2014, and this is DCMOOC. This is the very first session that we're running. This is the orientation session in what we call Orientation Week. And really the goal of this week is to get acquainted with the tools that we'll be using, get acquainted a little bit with the topic, and really get acquainted with each other, is to get a sense of who we are, who's participating in this MOOC, what a MOOC is, and any particular questions about commitment and those sorts of things. So I'd like to start off with introductions. So I'll introduce myself, but I'd love for you to also introduce you. There's about 86 of you at the moment. If you can type in the chat room, if you're able to do that. People who are on the iOS devices, I'm not sure if you can, well, yeah, I think you can chat. I just forget. Feel free to let us know where you're from or who you are, where you're from. Actually, it might be better if I brought up like a map. If you feel like using a map, I know most of you are from Saskatchewan, but there should be a toolbar on the side of the map to the left. And if you can grab the little thing that looks like a sun, I think it's the sun one, you can grab a little pointer or a happy face, and you can basically put roughly where you're from. I put a hand there, I guess. Or you can use the little sun tool. That makes it a little bit better. There we go. A bunch of people from Saskatchewan. That's someone from somewhere else. I think most people are from there, so I'll actually go to a closer one as well. But there's a few people from the west there. It says Kamloops, Prince Albert. I think I'll bring up a Saskatchewan map as well in a second. Regina Public, Kamloops, Connecticut, awesome. Big River, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, awesome. Chicago suburb, Calgary, Houston, Texas, wonderful. Rosetown, Ripple High School. This is going by really fast, so that's great. Australia, that's fantastic. Queensland, and it'll be in Brisbane fairly soon. Actually, I'm going just above you. Cairns, coming up in July. Cochin, Elrose, Charlottetown. Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, this is really great. I'm actually, because, and I'll explain the nature of this course here. I know a lot of people will be from the Saskatchewan area, so I'm going to bring up another map just to get a sense of where we are roughly from the province. And of course, I'm sorry to other anyone from outside of the province right now, but I'll explain sort of the funding of this course and so on. And so if anyone wants to grab the toolbar, they can click on that little sun and then just plop where you are on the map just to get a sense of where people are from. And happy faces work well, and so do fingers, so that's fine too. Good. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you very much. All right, my name is Alec Kuros. I'm a professor of educational technology and media at the University of Regina, which is way down here. I think most of you know where that is, or you can see it on the map. So I'm really interested in digital citizenship, and we got the really unique opportunity to teach a course, in fact, not just a course, but like a massive open online course on digital citizenship. It's a short thing. It's only about 5 weeks long, and you're here because you know a little bit about it. I'm passionate about the topic. I have 3 young children, almost 4, that are going to have to live in a world that's full of technology. I want to make sure that we understand what this means and how to deal with it as teachers and educators and principals. And this is a global topic. As you can tell by the people that are in the session tonight, that it's from all over people are thinking about this all over the world. Digital citizenship is a area of study, it's an area of concern, it's something that's really on the tips of a lot of educators, and a lot of people don't 100% know what to do with it. So I think a big part of this experience is trying to learn together, trying to create a sustainable community that talks about these particular issues in a local and global context. So a little bit about tonight. It's going to be fairly casual, as you can tell. I'm going to talk about what is digital citizen, or we're going to talk about that really quickly, what it is, because next week we really dive into that content in terms of what it is, describing it as, what it is, what key elements are there, etc. We're going to talk a little bit about tonight, what is a connectivist MOOC? Like, what are you actually experiencing at this moment now, and what does this look like? What are some of the key spaces? Why are there so many, and what are they for? And how do you get help, or in some ways, how do you give help for others as well? How do we support one another in a learning initiative like this? So I'm going to start off with, and I'm going to ask you to also participate here, let's just get started, because we want to have some expectations of what we're even getting into at the moment. So if you have a second, it would be great if you could grab one of those cursor tools on the whiteboard. Now, I don't know if you have this on your iOS devices, but for those that do, grab it and put in a few words. Like, I can't see who's typing what, so it's all anonymous. But feel free to, so there's file sharing. That's an interesting one. So grab the little A, and you can just start typing maybe a few words in terms of what you think digital citizenship is. In keywords, feel free to click on the definitions. There are some people that are clicking on the hand button. That's for raising hand. I'll talk about that in a second as well. So there's a whiteboard, and then there's a little tool to the left, a little sidebar, a toolbar that allows you to grab. And I think the fourth icon down is like a cursor. So what are we getting here? Not just being a safe online, but being fully responsible participant in online communities. Love that. Sharing, there's partly the safe, responsible use of technology. I'm going to see if I can move one of these around, because there's some that are overlapping on top of each other. Perfect. Presenting a professional self, giving and not just taking. And I think that was that's really a big important part of the internet. That certainly changed. It used to be a lot more about consuming, now it's giving back, I think. Internet safety is certainly a big part of that. Building positive community through online, respect, digital footprint, Creative Commons, which gets into the copyright realm, responsible online participation, reputation, respect for technology, digital citizenship is part of citizenship as a whole. I think that's a great point. Having a digital presence, and I think that's a huge one too. Kind and responsible. There's lots I'm reading here. Fantastic. I don't even know why we're having this course. You all seem to know what it is already. I think we all get a sense of what it is, but it's sort of like, how do we enact this? How do we take this into schools? And I think a big part of what we do in this course is really trying to bring this all together and try to figure out how do we actually do this with the world? How do we do this with our students? And I really like, someone went out there and boldly put responsibility there, and I think that's really important. I think it's one of our key responsibilities as schools to help students and to prepare them for the digital learning, the digital world. And I think in some ways, if we don't step up to it, there's a huge act of negligence on our behalf. So before I go too far, I just want to make sure you understand who is behind this course. So I'm very lucky to be able to help develop it and put this out there. I have a lot of great speakers that are coming in to talk. But the support came from the government of Saskatchewan. We were very lucky to work with key people like Joanna Sanders here, who's in the room here, who helped us. She's the digital fluency consultant in the province. I think that's like the current term. I also have someone who's integral to this process, Katia Hildebrandt, who's also the moderator in this room, who's helping me with, and you probably contacted her or communicate with her. She's a really key person in all of this. And I'm hoping that many of you also are key in this for a number of different ways. So I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledged why this is actually happening. So thanks everyone for being here. I also see that there's a lot of people from DCMOOC that were part of a former MOOC that I taught. So they are MOOC enthusiasts and really community enthusiasts. So it's great to see, and a lot of key people from the province in terms of who are using these tools. And I think most of you, this is one of the core sessions. This is a session that we hope that everyone attends. We run 2 core sessions every week. They're repeats of each other. So this session will also run tomorrow at 3:45 Saskatchewan time, the same sort of session. So 2 quotes that I really like before we get into sort of what we're supposed to be doing here. This is one of my favorite ones from Ribble. Digital citizenship is a concept which helps teachers and technology leaders understand what students should know to use technology appropriately. But I really emphasize the part in the red. is more than just a teaching tool. It's a way to prepare students for a society full of technology. And I think most of us know that fairly well, that this, we're not going back. We're not going back to a place where there's going to be a lot less technology. If anything, it's going to be more embedded, more ubiquitous. And so how do we actually deal with that in many ways? Another key quote, this was from Digizen, which is from the UK. It's not, and I think this is really an important piece, and what really sets the tone for this course, especially in terms of how we orient ourselves to the topic. Safety is really a big, important part of this, but it's much more than the cyber safety initiatives of the 90s and the 2000s, where we really scared kids from being online. What we're really hoping to do here is to show you and show how kids can really create a positive digital online presence to grow and shape the world in a safe, creative way and inspire others to do the same. I think that's really key in all of this, is how do we actually, how do we take our understanding about this particular topic and instill this in the character of our students, ourselves, but also in the digital habits of what, of our everyday lives. Excuse me. It's great to have my coughs captured forever on the recording. Okay, so this is the part. I know a lot of you already seem to know a lot about this topic, which is great. You may not be as familiar with connectivist MOOCs. And what a connectivist MOOC is, so first of all, this is a massive open online course. I think registrations typically, I think right now, Joanna or someone else can, I think we're over 600 people, which I think is a lot of people. Like typically my courses, are 30 people. And that means a lot of people, are going to come and go. There are about 100 here, but there might be 100 tomorrow after school. There's 630 is the last count there. Oh, 655 now. So it's growing all the time. I think we gained another 50 today. And this is just the orientation week, so we could expect over 1,000 people once there's word of this. And so how do you teach 1,000 people? How do you teach 500 people? And I think what's really interesting about this is it's not the same thing. Although I'm doing what's really kind of instructivist right now, we really have to help each other. And I think a couple of good ways of looking at it. My colleague, Dave Cormier from UPEI, I have a couple quotes from him here. So they're not prescriptive, and participants set their own learning goals and types of engagement. So ultimately, I'm not going to give you a formula of what you need to do in this class. You have got to decide, what are my learning goals and how do I engage in this? And I think that's really important. Cormier also says, CMOOCs are discursive communities creating knowledge together, and that's really, really, really important. The sessions may be important, but what's more important are how you interact with the sessions, how you reflect on the sessions, what you do with that knowledge, how you take that into your classrooms. Some of you I know are really, really well connected. So maybe the next session you want to come in and bring 2 of your teachers, sit side by side, bring a couple sessions. So that may be the other thing. Get people interested in this topic, be connectors. And so really, the most important part of this is how you engage with each other, and that's really the heart of a connectivist MOOC. Now, Cormier also created really a great video, and I'd actually like to spend some time. It's about 4 minutes and 16 seconds long, and I'm actually going to find the link. And this is actually a good test for all of us because I want to see if I can run YouTube at the same time here. So I'm going to, in the chat room, I'm going to basically drop a link, if I can find that in a second. And I'd like you to spend the next 4 minutes and 16 seconds watching that video. So I'm going to turn off my audio. I'm going to drop the link in. And I'm hoping when you do come back, when you're done watching this video, you're able to, we can kind of get a sense of this. This is probably the cleanest and the easiest way that I've ever seen someone explain how to engage in a MOOC like this. And I think it's actually a really great way to think about interacting on the internet in general. So I'm going to drop this in. If you can come back in 4 minutes and 16 seconds, I'll try to time it, and we'll discuss then. So thanks. All right. Sounds like most of you are back. Awesome. So what do you think? Does this make sense to you in terms of how you would think about a course? I want your feedback, or if you can wonder, or if you have any questions on any of the topics. The 5 things there: orient, declare, network, cluster, and focus. If you have any thoughts about that. Oh, sorry, I cut off someone there quickly. And this is typically how it works. Now, there are some MOOCs that are very different that will give you, this is reading, and then you're going to basically do, yes, similar, you're right. You're going to do a question like the common sense piece. Yeah, and I think that's really important. There are other ones that say, okay, you read this and you can take a test on this, and then that it ends. But I think it's really important to understand that ultimately you can take whatever path you want. You can engage as much as you want. What you get out of this course is going to be what you put in, and it's not going to be for an instructor or anyone else to tell you to do better or to do this or to do that. That also can be a problem, though. Some people certainly drop out of MOOCs. In fact, there's a high dropout rate in MOOCs, and I think that can be a problem. So it has to come from your own motivation. I'm hoping that it's such a short duration that we have really 3 weeks of content. Today is this orientation week is really just to get you kind of understanding how this works. Then we have 3 weeks of content, and the 5th week is just basically kind of looking at those longer term connections and thinking about where we go next. All right. Cool. I'm glad, Kelly. Yeah, and that was the point of that quick video there. Yeah, right. And I think you're right, Kelly. Obviously self-motivation is huge in this. Setting goals for yourself. And I think that would be a great thing to do this week. Okay, so what are your goals for this week? You're taking time out of your week where you have lots of obligations. So what exactly do you want to set goals for, right? And that's no problem, Brianne. I mean, if you want to sit back and lurk, that's fine too. There's a lot of different ways of engaging. Some people may blog in this course. Some people may do different things. All right, so I'm gonna kind of keep on moving us along here, but I'm glad you at least got to look at it. Yeah, hopefully. So what are the key learning spaces? So first of all, and feel free, Joanna or Katia, if you want to, jump in here, and if I'm missing anything. But here's the website. So it's at DCMOOC.ca. Pretty easy to find. And I think what I'll probably do now is actually go, and I'm going to try a screen share. Okay. So this sometimes makes computers a little slow. This is good at testing things. I'm sorry for the people out in the country that don't have the greatest connection. This is supposed to work okay, but we'll see. So I'm going to go to a screen share in a second here. I'm just going to go to DCMOOC.ca. Yes, yeah, Terry, that's a great point. I didn't even mention it. You can actually drag all the panels around. So you can actually drag the chat from the sort of where it comes in by default, and you can drag it to the side of the computer, and you can actually make the chat a big longer window, so it's much easier to follow for sure. So thanks, Terry. I should have mentioned that earlier. Yeah, it's great to figure out these. So you can kind of move things around for sure. Yeah, Terry. I should have said that before, but it's fantastic. Yeah, it makes the chat much easier. I know people get really hard to read anything in that small window that it gives you by default. Should have mentioned that as well. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little bit of a screen share. So bear with me. Seems like the tool is working okay tonight, but you never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to start sharing my desktop just to give you a sense of what the site looks like. I think most of you, so can you see my desktop at the moment? Okay, you can, right? And now it's not going to be perfect for sure, but you should be able to see my mouse. Nice. Look at this response rate. Much better than the students that take my classes for credit sometimes. So first of all, here's about, not all of them, like I know some of you are there that knew come back, which is great. So a little bit about it. Of course, you can look at the funding. One of the things I do want to mention, there is, if you want to take this route, now MOOCs have certainly, there's a way of actually doing things that you want to do it just for intrinsic motivators, but if you want to get some sort of certificate of completion from this course, it's not related to any university credit, but I think it means something. I think it's meaningful, and it could be helpful for you, and maybe give you that extra motivation. If you're one of those people that needs a little bit of extra motivation, you got to get what's equivalent to a badge here. So we'll send you sort of a digital certificate of completion, but we're going to put some, we want to make sure that there's a bar here, at least in doing that. So if you want to go this route, you can certainly do that. Not everyone will get it, but you can certainly get this, and it gives you something. So take a look at it, and we've given you the assignment grading guidelines. So basically, ultimately what you want to do, if you want to go this route, you want to get a blog, you want to get Twitter, you want to get Google+, you want to get all the things that we talked about. But ultimately, at the end of the course, what we'd like you to do is create a 5 to 6 minute summary of learning that details what you learned, how you engage with the course content, how you contributed to the learning of others, and it can make reference to your participation in the above spaces. So you can talk about how you blogged, how you tweeted, how you used Google+. Maybe you use one way more than the others. Maybe you didn't blog much, but you tweeted a lot and you were really good there. Or maybe you used Google+ a whole lot, but you used Twitter less and you blogged more. So you could do whatever you want, but we want to make sure that you've got some evidence. So if you want to do that, and we want to make sure that it is something that that is meaningful to you as well. So you don't have to go that route, but some of you may want to, and there's a possibility there. Now, we haven't put anything under the DCMOOC blog, but if you do choose to blog, what we're going to ask you is for your blog address. I think Katia maybe send out a form in one of our emails. If not, we'll send it out again. And we're asking for a blog address. So if you have a blog, that's something you can certainly do. Okay, and you'll see that in there a second. So if you have a blog, you can actually type it in register it and give it to us. And what's going to happen is on this page, while there's nothing here yet, all of your blogs will be aggregated in the same space. So this will be like your voices all in one place. Well, that'll make more sense down the road. Of course, you've registered already. This area right here where it says course tools and navigation is pretty important, that it kind of explains the key spaces, and it gives you a little bit of a background of what you could use. And you probably think, like, why so many places? Why don't we just use a course management system? Well, I mean, the reason why I think it's really important, there's a couple of really key reasons. First of all, I think if we do this in the open, I think there's so many different possibilities of engaging with people who are also talking about this around the world. And also, I think it's really important that we actually model the tools of connectivity, that we get to know Twitter, that we get to know Google+, and other similar social networks, that we model this. And I think that's really important as well. If you want, there are actually some tutorials on how to use Blackboard Collaborate, how to use Google+ Community, a little bit about on Twitter with some great guidelines, and some interesting some blog sites to use. And if you'll notice, if we click on the calendar event, I should talk about the content overview quickly. That will explain what we're going to talk about starting really next week, and it kind of gives you an overview of the 5 weeks. Again, this is mostly just orientation this week. The calendar of events, I want to explain this really quickly just so you know exactly what's happening here. So we have a calendar. You'll notice in the green are the core sessions. You'll notice that they are repeating every week. We try to make them the same time every week so we can do that. But we're also bringing in some bonus sessions. So there's a bonus session, the red ones here, for instance. We have Sue Waters coming in, who's an amazing blogger, and she works with EduBlogs. She's going to bring in some blogging sessions. Katia is going to talk about Twitter. She's going to do a Twitter session if you've never done that. We actually have a digital citizenship in early years session that Kathy Cassidy is doing. I think actually a couple of those. I think we're going to bring in Eric Scheniger, who's coming in. He's going to talk about admin. We don't have that book there yet. Who else do we have coming up here as well? I think there's a couple of other people we've asked. We haven't filled them all in, so and the bonus sessions will be recorded for sure. Yeah, every session will be recorded. Now, if you think about the blue ones, on Thursday nights, we're actually going to try a Twitter chat. And that will start as early as this week. We're going to start, and I think that's at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. And basically, if you've never done a Twitter chat, just show up on Twitter that day and follow the hashtag. And if you don't know what that means, we will help you with that. The first one's going to be, again, sort of that orientation. Like if you've never done a hashtag, we'll ask you questions that help you connect and use the hashtag. We want this to be very, very supportive. We want you to take some digital tools with you and some fluencies with you as well. Again, if this is overwhelming, don't worry. We're here to help and kind of get you through this. If you're new at this, or if you're really good at this, then we're hoping that you help each other. And I think that's really, really important. So yeah, come to the Twitter session. So for instance, on Thursday, there's a Twitter session that's right before our first Twitter chat. So that would be great to be able to see how it works, and then you'll get to be able to run into it and do that as well. So the start times on the bonus sessions, if you click on any one of these, Bob, you can actually see where the start time is. And all times are in Saskatchewan time, which is currently Mountain Time in North America. So you'll be able to see that. Hopefully you can see that, Bob. No problem. Yeah, it actually shows the times, the descriptions. You can even click on it, but even the hover kind of shows you that as well. Other key tool, I think another key tool is going to be Twitter. And I'm not going to go through Twitter a lot right now, but basically it's good to know that if you want to follow someone, so first of all, one of the first things you should do if you're new to a Twitter account is get that profile done. And there's a really, really great tutorial from a guy by the name of David Truss, which we've put on the tutorials page that kind of talks about the key things that you should do with your Twitter account. But in a nutshell, make sure that you have proper images. You may not want to put images of your kids. I do. You may not want to. That's totally a personal touch in that sense. But certainly declare whether you're it's Saskatchewan time. Well, it is Saskatchewan time. So for those people who don't know Saskatchewan time, we don't do daylight savings time, so we stay the same time all the time, which is can be a little bit of an issue when we're teaching online courses, especially when you have an online course that straddles the daylight savings time switch. So it is kind of like Miller time, I guess. So it's important to basically put your, who you are. I think it's really important to let people, like what Cormier uses that term, declare yourself. Declare yourself online. And the big thing here is to be able to type in search DCMOOC, and then you'll actually see all these people who are actually really cool and want to learn with you, that are basically, some of the people in this room, some people who are not in this room. These are people that you can connect with. These are your experts. These are people that are passionate about digital citizenship in the province and beyond. I think that's just awesome. And that's what makes Twitter so amazing, is if you use the right hashtag, you are connected to a wonderful, wonderful community. And I think it just shows. I mean, I love, people in this, that I see here are all people I highly respect. And I think it's amazing to get a sense of that. So, connect with that. The other big community as well, Kevin, do you have the link to the Google Plus community? I forget where it is right now. It's why I could probably find it. Hey, what a good problem-solving skill. What I'll do is I'll go to DCMOOC, then I'll go to, I forgot at the moment, and I have to bookmark this. So I'll go to the, let's see, Getting Started, Course Tools and Navigation, because I forgot where the Google Plus community was. And here I am. I can go to the Google Plus community. Anyway, we don't have a link to it. That is not got problem-solving skill. I thought we had a link to it, but I guess we don't. Well, we'll see that in a second here. We'll fix that so we have a link. I'm sure we have it somewhere else. I can't see the link to it. Yeah, good point, Dave. I think that's exactly it. You connect to the conference. Okay, so here we go. Thanks for the link here. This is Google Plus community, and I'm going to have to sign in to actually. Okay. I have to remember my Google account. Oh, I have identification. Well, I have two. By the way, this is something you may want to actually know about. This is called two-step verification. And what this does is it allows you to, when you log in, it makes sure that you have an extra layer of security. It can be a bit of a hassle though, so I got to type in a little code. It's all right if you see it. Uh-oh, it's going to run out of time. All right, 193158. It doesn't matter, it only works once, so even if you do see it, it's okay. All right, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to approve members. We'll do that later just to make sure that this is how you get approved. It's a really arduous process where we sit around for a long, long time and think about who's can go into our community. Here we go. We're all good. All right, so this is Google Plus Communities. I don't know if you've used it before, and some of you certainly have, but this is a really, really great place it's a great tool to start using. What's nice about it is it's sort of like the discussion boards, but it's really kind of nice on your Google devices, and so for Android phones and iPhones, it's really kind of nice. What's cool about it too is like Wendy's saying something here. So if I wanted to talk to Wendy, so here is a great resource that I found from, if I put an @ sign and then I go Wendy James, then I can actually bring up Wendy and I can talk about her really quickly. It's the same sort of thing that Facebook has, which you've seen before. And I love that because if you want to maybe summon someone to a conversation, you can do that all the time. And as Ted says, it really aggregates people well. So it's kind of nice, and you can't do that in a typical discussion forum. It also allows you to add events. You can put video in. You can actually even put in your own videos. If you wanted to record video, you can go in there and you can actually record video there and leave video messages if you want to. So that might be a cool way to declare yourself. Yeah, Google Plus is what Facebook should have been, I think, in some ways. I really like it. Shelby's saying my students use Google Plus like crazy. They left me in the dust. It's a really cool tool. It's, I don't know if it's going to be around forever, but I use this for all of my courses, and so it's a good one to kind of get a sense from. You'll notice on the side here we have like a discussion. We have weekly prompts. We have question and answers. We have introductions. So feel free to go into one of those pages. So if you want to leave an introduction, you just click on introductions over here and go in there, and you can certainly just talk to someone, answer or reply to someone. You can +1 people, which is sort of like liking it. But you can also, if you wanted to leave your own introduction, you could go in and create a video for the week if you want us to see you. Now the cool thing about Google Plus is, so this is the more private community. Feel free to, obviously anything online is not private, but this is a place where you can feel a little bit more secure in terms of what you're actually putting out online. I'm assuming that most people aren't going to, change it and add it and put it out there, but it's better this way. Twitter is definitely global. Anyone can see it who can see your accounts, whereas this particular community, it's at least a little bit more private. Again, not 100% private. So to join the community, I think you should be able to just go here. So back to the link, you can click on there, and you should be able to log in, and I think it asks you to basically just try to join. I think if anyone can correct me, let me know if anyone had the process. What was the process of getting in? Because I've just been in Google Plus for so long that I forget how to join. So I just tried. I had to ask to join. So once you ask to join, then we can approve you. So we just look at you and judge you. No, we don't. We just want to make sure that you are in there. Perfect. Okay. Oh yeah, and that's the other way too. Kelly just went to Google Plus, search for DCMOOC. Now these are places you may want to go to a lot. So what's probably a good idea is like right here. I'm in Chrome browser, so I'm going to have to do this for later. Like by the way, I'm teaching like another class in Victoria right now that uses this community. So I try to put it there so I can use these tools there. So I'm just going to put that there. So I have, every time I want to go to it, it's just there. It's ready to go. Another cool thing around Twitter, as I noticed before, like you can do this and type in DCMOOC and see what people are doing in terms of, if you don't know what a hashtag is, that's totally fine. But you could even take that search, and what you could do is basically move that search into your shortcuts. I would really suggest using something like TweetDeck, and I think Katia will go through that coming up. But TweetDeck, if you haven't heard of it, is a really good way to follow hashtags. It's a much, much better way. As Tamara is saying, she's using Hootsuite, which is also very, very good. Similar idea. TweetDeck is a really good tool. Both of them do basically the same thing, where you can actually take a hashtag and put it into a single panel. TweetDeck, yeah, Kelly's addicted to information, obviously. 37 columns. So usually I only do about 5 at a time, but that's pretty cool. And is Hootsuite glitchy, or is it? Oh, TweetDeck is glitchy sometimes. Yeah, it can be. I mean, the web is glitchy for the most part, but you're right. I mean, so don't expect it to be totally 100% perfect. All right, so I'm going to try to move away from this. I think those are the key. Is there anything else I should be looking at right now in terms of key tools? I don't think so. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, go back to the slides, and hopefully that's all right. Is everyone keeping up okay? Awesome. So what do you think of Blackboard Collaborate? Is it working okay for you? It's not perfect. Yeah, it's not too bad. I use this for all of my my online classes. Yeah, it's not bad. Like it's no Google Hangouts, which I think is really, really cool. The phone is kind of neat. Yeah, it's actually, Morgan, it actually is Illuminate Live, but Blackboard bought it. So there's actually, Illuminate Live is either an old product, if you see it still being used, but Blackboard bought it. Adobe Connect can be good. I've never had much success with it. I find it good with small groups, but not so good with larger groups. In my experience, anyway. I'm not sure if that's totally true. All right. Let's see. So Blackboard, I think you kind of know what that is. DCMOOC hashtag I kind of mentioned, and of course I showed you Google+. The other thing that I think is really kind of cool is, thinking about your space. Now, we're not going to say that blogging is mandatory in this class. Maybe you have a blog that you want to start, blogging about digital citizenship. But there are so many really easy to use blogs. I know that if you go to Sue Waters' session, she's going to give you EduBlogs, like the pro version. She's going to upgrade you. So she said that she would do it already. So if you don't have a blog and you're looking for a really good blog, edublogs.org is a cool one. So if you go to her sessions, she'll actually help you. Oh yeah, and it's good to know that you can turn off those notifications, by the way. So yeah, so Sue will come in. If you set up a blog with her, she'll help you, and she'll basically set you up with the kind of the pro version of the one that usually costs money of EduBlogs. And if you want to see her on Twitter, it's either Sue Water or Sue Waters on Twitter. I used to forget. But you'll find she's from Perth anyway. And yeah, WordPress is really a great tool. I want to show you something really kind of cool though. If you have a Twitter account, and I don't know if anyone's done this, like this is how easy blogging can be. So I'm going to show you a tool called, has anyone heard of Medium as a tool? I'm going to show you that real quick. Okay, so Medium is actually created by the guy who founded Twitter. So somebody who has a heck of a lot of money. And so he started this, and what I like about it, and this is something you could take into the classroom on, tomorrow, if you want students to think of an easy way. So here's Medium. Can you see it right now? So this is a place which is kind of a cool place for writing. What I love about this is how incredibly easy it is. If you have a Twitter account, you already have a Medium account. And so if I want to click on this, I go Start Writing, and then I sign in with Twitter. And this is what it looks like. Like no clunky menus or anything like this. This is your space. So if I want to create a blog, my thoughts on session 1, or what digital citizenship means. digital citizenship. What it means to me, right? Write your story. Here is my story. Now, if you want to change something, all you do is you highlight the word, and then if you highlight the word, this thing comes up. You can create the header, you can create a quote, you can create a link. So I can go to DCMOOC.ca and I can hit enter, and that is linked right there. If I want to add like a picture, I can go anywhere on my computer and add a photograph. I'm not sure, so I'll add this one, for instance. And that kind of becomes your background for that. And it's really, 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 really so super readable. It's just awesome. This is my blog post. And when you're done, all you do is you click on the publish button, and it gives you a link, and you're there. Like, writing online can't be any easier than this. And that's what I love about this. If you want a simple blog, it's a really, really cool way. It is, and I love about it. So no teacher will have to say, or student will have to say, I can't blog, because this is just, you log in and you start writing. And that's what I love about this, is the medium allows you to write in a neat way. So there's lots of other things about it which are kind of cool. Yeah, you do need a Twitter account for it, so that's important to know. So because it's actually created by the guy who Ev, I forget his last name, who created Twitter. And so this is his thing. Really, really simple. Yeah. So I mean, that's what I really love about it. It does have RSS, so I can subscribe to you. There's a subscription as well. Really, really cool. And I love that it really focuses on the words, and the visual is always really quite nice. So it's really, really cool. Do I recommend every student having a Twitter account? I don't know. Obviously 13 years of age is an important concern. I think a lot of students, I just went to a session at Susan's school, Susan who's here, in Calgary at Bishop Carroll, and I would say that most of the students did already, and these are high school students. Now, I would strongly suggest that if they do use it, that they create a positive one, that they create one that is right for their character. If not, if they're going to do something else, to certainly create something with a pseudonym. I'm not 100%, like, I think you have to have the right guidance around the Twitter account, but it's not a bad idea. So yeah, that's the one thing. They're thinking about bringing in other forms of identification to allow you to log into this, but this does need Twitter to log in. It actually it's connected to your Twitter account in that sense. So that is, that's the problem in this particular case. Well, supposedly you're supposed to be 13, and we can talk about that more next week. But there is something called the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, which I believe applies to Twitter. I'm quite sure it does. Or maybe I'm not. I believe so. Someone else can let me know or not. But I think Twitter has the terms of service that you're supposed to be 13. I could be wrong. So if anyone wants to research that, that's a really great one to research anyway. So, but it is so easy to use. I quite love it. For high school students, it would be ideal, I think. It's easy to share each other's work as well. So I'm going to turn this off. But I love, that's one of my favorite tools, new tools. Let's stop the sharing there. Yeah, it's certainly a big legal issue in the U.S. There's no doubt about it. It is, it is an American. Oh, sure. There's my video. Is that better? I feel like I'm in a dark, dark space here. I'm actually in a hotel in Virginia, so. I forgot that. I think when I do the screen sharing, the video goes off. All right. So I think it's important to understand, like your space. So whatever space that might be is good too. I mean, it's good to have that space. Now, it could be Evernote. There's actually a really great tool called, if you do Evernote, for instance, another cool way of actually blogging, there's actually something called Pistachio, which is a really super easy to use tool as well. There's a little video that goes on it as well. So if you're an Evernoter, you can actually blog to your Evernote account by creating notes. It's just super easy as well. So if that's something that you're using with students as well, really, really cool tool to use. But I guess the underlying thing is, like, what is your space? It's not a bad idea to think about a space to use. I'll give you a great example here of one of my students. This is Mark Renier, and I'm going to have to say, give you just the one to look at. So typically my students in Ecomp 355, which is my undergraduate class in educational technology, will create portfolios. So this is my student's portfolio. This is just from this past piece. And this is just a WordPress blog. This is his space where he blogs, where he brings his experience. Mavis is talking about Weebly, which I think is a great one as well. And yeah, others have taken the class from me as well, about 8 years ago, where we did HyperStudio back then, Michelle. And so things have changed. You know what? I probably have your HyperStudio stack still on my computer, by the way. I keep all of that stuff. Believe me, but I'm a pack rat. So if you want to see what you did, I can probably find it for you. So, you know, it's also important to get your space. Pistachio is another one. But I like, you know, for instance, this student's portfolio is a really cool way of doing that. And why don't we have more portfolios? And I think that would be, you know, if you created one, my brother's, George's, for instance, is a pretty good example of an administrator portfolio, if you think about that. And he integrates his work into that. And I think that's a, you know, a cool way to do it. I also, when I applied for tenure and promotion, I used a portfolio to basically make my application. So there's lots of reasons why we should have online portfolios, and I think it's central to this discussion on digital citizenship. So where is your space? And I guess that's one thing that you may want to think about. If we model this, why don't we have writing spaces? Now, I don't write all the time. I don't write very often, but I do have a space if someone's looking for me, which I think is good. Also, how can we get help? So I think that's the key thing. I want to keep this to under an hour tonight. How do you get help for the course? Obviously, step one is to ask each other. Go to Google+, for instance. You know, ask on Twitter with a hashtag. I think people are already very, very helpful so far. But I think that's kind of the big thing is my brother George actually, and don't tell him that I actually tweeted or actually referred to his post twice in the session because I try to let him know that I don't read his blog. But in his last post, just kind of brother rivalry. Don't tell him I read his blog, okay? I know you will. That's terrible. Catch up, friend. All right. So this one is probably something he heard from me. I don't know, you know, but he wrote it, and I think it's an important thing. Is, you know, leveraging is the new fluency, and I think he gets part of this from Young Zhao, from where he actually talks about the literacy being the floor and fluency being the ceiling, I guess, in terms of how we actually look at kids. And I think that's a really important way of looking at it. And if we are to be digitally fluent, it's not as good to say email someone for a question. Like, you can do that certainly for private type questions, but if you're asking questions, developing a network and asking questions online is really a good thing too. And this is becoming an important and essential skill, is how do we actually leverage networks, and how do we leverage this as well? Well, thanks, Catherine. There we go. So I think that's a possibility of taking a look at that idea. But back to the slides here is, you know, that there you can see that particular post. I think I put it in there. Email, you can tweet us, Carosa K. Hildebrandt at Madame Sanders. And of course, we have a Gmail account set up for this. If you do have a request that's a bit more private that you don't want to ask, if you think that you just need some extra help, feel free to just send an email, and we'll try our best to get back to it as soon as possible. We want to try to be as supportive as possible, but again, with the notion that the more you can try to get help from the network, I think the better we can actually create a sustainable community that allows us to think about technology and citizenship and all of these things in our province and beyond. So I think it's important to try to at least, you know, step out of your boundaries and your box a little bit, and out of your comfort zone, and try to connect in other spaces. So I think that would be great too. All right, so what else do you need to know? Are there big questions that you have right now? Oh, thanks, Stella. That's awesome. Great to have you here. For sure, Rachel, anytime. We love being part of Learning Networks here. For sure. So any questions that you need to know? Now, again, this week, if you don't know what to do, so I mean, you've done the orientation session. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about this. You know, ask questions. We're gonna put some questions every week to think about. But really, this week is about connecting, declaring yourself, getting yourself out there. Where do you find the recordings? That's a good question. If you go to the DCMOOC.ca site, what you're going to find is, I just forget where it is, but if you look under Content Overview, so if you go to DCMOOC.ca, and I can put the slides up there too as well if you like, DCMOOC.ca, go to Content Overview, and under Content Overview there will be archives, and we will put all the sessions there, and we'll also probably cross-post it to the Google Plus community as well, and we'll probably tweet it for sure. And remember when I mentioned earlier that we cluster? It would be great to see clusters of people get together and create interest groups. So for instance, that maybe there's people in this MOOC that really want to know more about digital portfolios. So get people together, create your own Google Plus community on digital portfolios. Or maybe there's elementary teachers who really, they'll go to Kathy Cassidy's session and they'll, find a lot of affinity and they want to get together and talk about it. And maybe there's a Twitter chat or a hashtag that you start to use about digital citizenship in K-12 or in elementary or early years classrooms. And I think that's really important, is that you start to cluster around the things that you really want to know about this. So, and if anyone wants to, and I'll put this out there as well, anyone here who has expertise in things like portfolios or elementary education, I'd be very glad to give you a session. We can provide bonus sessions for people who want that. Other ways of doing this, you could use Google Hangouts, or if you want to use this particular tool, I'm very happy to sort of hand it over and help you, try to engage people in other ways as well. So, if there are any other questions, if not, it's about an hour in. I didn't want to keep it more than an hour, but try to do this in a way. I'm just here to sort of help guide gently and help people sort of get set up and connected. I'm just trying to help things, and I think it's a really amazing opportunity that we have here, that we're able to do this. And I really am looking forward to the next 5 weeks and connecting with everybody and just really getting to know about what's happening and learn more about digital citizenship. I'm by far no expert, but together we're really smarter together, and I think that's incredibly important. So again, anything that we can do, let's connect through the hashtag, let's connect through the community, and let's really create an amazing experience and really model what it means to be digital learners. All right? Thanks, everybody. Take care, and I will try to post the transcripts of these classes as well. So that was great. Thanks. I'm going to turn off the recording now. Thanks, everyone. Good night.